All righty. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you're coming from. I am Brian. This is Melissa, depending on which side and how you have it set up. And thank you for joining Revit Radio. I'm coming to you live, not from my house today, but from Shasta Lake in Northern California. I'm testing out the beautiful Starlink setting, so we'll see how well this goes. I don't know if I have to keep my screen on or my screen share on, or not my screen share, my camera on or off. It's not like you guys need to be, sitting there looking at me. And as Melissa did say, it looks like a fake background, but the flags are moving. So you can see the flags blowing. I'm not, pulling one over on anybody. So see a few new names on here. So for those of you who have not been here before, Revit Radio is all about you guys asking questions and then we answer them. It is good to see that we do already have one question prepared out there. So we've got that going for us. And thank you, Chris, for being all ready to go with that. And I am attempting to do all this on a single monitor since I'm not, at my house. Oops, that's not right. So I'm going to be fudging with things, trying to move things around. I do have that fun monitor, my laptop with the second monitor down below. So we're going to attempt to do this all down there again. So there we go.
See, Mike and Jason are totally on my yeah, I can.
Yeah, nice, great.
Move your flag.
Yes, well, normally, yes, I did. I went through all the trouble of a green screen in the background just so I could put on a baseball hat during Revit Radio. That's it, because I normally don't do baseball hats, but I have lake hair, so we're gonna go ahead and leave it at that.
Well, baseball hat might help your random sun in the face action during certain times of the year.
Oh no, we actually bought shades. I haven't had the random sun in the face in a very, very long time at the home office, so.
It'll roll back around. Be fine.
All right, yeah, see, I keep getting your internet connection is unstable. So I am testing on Starlink here, and it's been very bizarre. I've had my speeds as slow as 1.4 uploads to 120 uploads. So who knows? We'll see what's gonna happen, but it is telling me that. So I'm gonna attempt to find the controls for my video and stop my video. So no more green screen for y'all. I can now take my shirt off. It's all good. All right, so did anything come up, Melissa, that you wanted to talk about or discuss in the last month since we've done Revit Radio?
Wow. I probably have tons of ideas, but as soon as somebody asks outright, it's like, I don't even know my own name.
So I did want to point out, for those of you in Revit 24.1 did come out. So since last Revit Radio, we did get Revit 24.1. Ironically, it came out like 2 days after I deployed this to a whole entire client's machine. So one client's machine, it's like, oh, let's go deploy all this. And then like literally 2 days later, they came out 0.1. It's like, cool, let's go redeploy all that. So did get the update for 24.1. There's also a new licensing update. They were having some massive security flaw where people could hack your computer, blah, blah, blah. So there was also a licensing update. And I don't know if everybody out there does this often. See, here we go. Should we test? We test my speed. It was at 42 right when we started this. We'll test my speed. Yes, we're getting a 2.2 point download. So this is what I'm saying. It's like very bizarre all over the place with Starlink. So, but in case you guys haven't been there before, if you go to, and you should go to manage.autodesk.com, and in that manage.autodesk.com, it will go through and have all of that, the stuff that is available to you. You just need to go over to product updates once you log in. So once you log in, you go to product updates. Sweet. I tried logging into the iCloud account. The wife said, this is somebody hacking us. And so she changed all the passwords. We're going to probably see that come up 100 times today. But you can't see what came up. They did release, and I know Jason had a question from last month on the IFC. So they did come out with an IFC update for 23 as well as 24, literally 3 days ago, which I did not know this one was out there. Oh, sweet. Look, there's an AutoCAD 24 update. See, this is what happens around the lake. You miss all these updates. But they also did come out with, and I was looking for it. Nope, that's issues add-in, the identity manager. So theoretically, there was a hack in the identity manager they did come out with on July 11th. So as you start going through and looking, this is a place to go to. For those of you out there, you can use the Autodesk. What is it called now? I might have it installed.
Who cares? It'll be different by the time you upload this.
The Autodesk Access. So there is an Autodesk Access when you get in there. So. So there was also something else too that was 24.1. Oh, look at this. Thank you, Caitlin, for saying this. That I noticed this from ID8, but I know a few other add-in programs have said this, that if you do install the 0.1 update, it has broken. They changed some sort of thing in the background with the schema errors, and it has been causing issues with a lot of the add-in programs. I have not experienced this yet, although I'm not fully working in 24. I have two projects clients are on in 24, but supposedly there is some sort of schema update that 24.1 broke all of the add-ins, or not all of them, but a lot of the add-ins that were using schema errors. So, and thank you, Caitlin, for putting those in the chat. So if you wanted to click on Caitlin's link in the chat, it's only to notes, hosts and panelists. Melissa will forward that to everybody, but they did break that out. So they did break something for all the add-in utilities. So just thought I'd put out there. So the only thing I was going to come up with and talk a bit, and I know I talk about these all of the time, but it cracks me up because I have had several clients filters. So I know Melissa and Parallax, they use a crap ton of filters. And if you're in the sample structure project, I think the architecture project has it as well. One of the things is I love filters. And I was sitting on a BIM call the other day, and the lead on the BIM project was saying, man, you need to create a work set for this. And they were delegating work sets that every single discipline needed to work on. And I'm just sitting there going, cool, are you going to pay us more? That was literally my response to them, because if you're going to delegate how we work, therefore we need to be reimbursed for that, because I'm not going to have to go through and track all my projects on work sets. I want to be able to do things the way I want to do it. And then I use filters to turn things on and off. So I always just like to just talk about filters, etc. There's one that I use all the time, and I know everybody's like, man, do the shared levels and grids and put everything on the shared levels and grid work set. I'm in the sample structure project. This is not a file that will allow me to go and do work sets, right? It's a single user file. But these are one of those things that you can even see that, hey, I've got levels different colors because I'm using a filter for this. But the one that I always do is, so for most of my clients, and we actually did this on the sample project, these ones all called out STR for the structural grid, or levels and grids. We called out ARCH or something like that for the architectural levels and grids. And the big reason why we did that is, with all of those files being linked in, we created a filter, probably called levels and grids. Grids and levels, maybe. I don't see it in here. Maybe they got yanked out before they finished this, but levels, building, structural. I am not seeing it. Okay, so I lied. It's not in here. I lied. But one of the things was, for me, is there was a filter in here for all of the levels and grids from the linked files. Yeah, here we go, non-structural. So basically it's just, hey, grids and levels, and the type name doesn't begin with STR, right? So the architectural file said doesn't begin with ARCH or whatever it was. Therefore, we can apply that filter to every single view template. And whenever we start a new view, it's not going into manage work sets and hoping to God the consultant doesn't model half their building on the levels and grids work set. It's coming in for a while here, just saying, hey, just turn levels and grids off that don't start with my acronym for my company. Right. So that's one of those things that we go through, and filters are so powerful to be able to control your own stuff, but to also be able to go through and start controlling linked stuff as well. So just wanted to point that out. One of those things that we go through, and it's come up quite a bit for me in the last 2 or 3 weeks, on people not knowing how to use filters or not understanding why you would use filters and relying on work sets instead. So do you guys do your levels and grids this way, Melissa, or are yours more of a, hey, we go ahead and rely on the work set?
Oh, definitely not work set. But we don't turn them different colors or get too crazy. We basically just use the filters to turn them off.
I don't usually turn them different colors. Yeah, well, I did the different colors here just because I knew structure is never going to actually look at the architectural link, etc. So I wanted to be able to say, look, you can use filters for levels, and it's kind of why I put them in the sample structure project in that scenario, because it can work in your own stuff, or you can use it to go through. And honest truth, I use this for grids quite often. Like, people are always like, ooh, I want to see the prime grids and not the point grids. So we create filters for a decimal point to turn them on or off, change the color, do whatever we want to do. Although I did have a client ask me this week, can I turn every 5th grid off with a filter? And I'm like, wait, what? Is it like ones that end in 0 or 5? They're no, like literally every 5th grid. I'm like, huh? No.
I guess you just have to give it a name or a comment or something, but interesting.
Yes, exactly. It's like, hide me, hide me, hide me, hide me, and create a filter where there's a comment to a level or a, yeah, it was really bizarre to me. No, do we even have do we even have comments on?
I don't know. I'm not someone with grid.
We don't in, that's not a floor plan. I was just gonna say, we don't with levels. I don't think we get them with grids either, or do we? Yeah, there's not even a comment. So I guess you could add a custom parameter to do that with, but I'm like, why every fifth grid? And I finally talked him out of it, but that's okay.
Did they have a lot of grids close together or something?
It was for the site plan. Like they realized that if they hit every fifth grid, they fit on the sheet, or I don't know. It was something really bizarre. And I'm like, who cares?
But why did they
Just
need the grids on the site? Like, I don't know.
every fifth grid. Yeah, I talked them into, hey, any of them that end in a 0 or 5, keep on. And then they just did the numeric. And then when they want to do something with the alphas, like just hide the alphas. If people can see the numeric is close enough, like, yeah, it's just an overall site plan. That's probably true. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, give them a corner.
So, yep. So it looks like we got some questions rolling in, and thank you all for that. So again, for those of you not here, do ask your questions in the Q&A pod, because if you put them in the chat pod, we're probably going to miss them. I don't remember if I said that or not.
But
just
we
for the fact,
missed them.
yeah, because we've already missed them because everybody else has been talking. So,
All right.
so cool. What questions do we got?
Well, let's start with Chris's because it went right along with your lovely class that built. So Chris is asking, what is the preferred method or methods for bringing interior design into a project? I would prefer they link in the architectural model, not edit live. They should be able to tag various materials such as paint colors, which are not established in the architectural model, or host their families to architectural walls, ceilings, etc. Copy monitor seems like a lot of work for each project. Yes. What is generally the accepted process for adding interior design as a separate consultant?
So I have a lot of consultants that are their own. They just do interiors for hospitals, schools, a whole bunch of different things. I don't think I have a separate person who does Revit modeling for like smaller residential or anything. And what ends up happening is, yes, they create their own model, they link in the architects, and then they just start doing things in there. It's been critical for us to make most of their families non-faced or host-based. Same thing for the MEP consultants out there. You don't want the MEP people to be linking to your ceiling, and then if you delete it, it becomes all unhosted or whatever. So yes, for me, it's one of those things where we go through, we set it up. Absolutely. I just noticed this says she, drawn by she. Is that like structural engineer? Sorry, I just noticed this on the drawn by. So in that scenario, yeah, because you're going to still be modeling all of your own stuff in. And honest truth, if you're just doing interiors, you shouldn't be caring about dimensions on most of the stuff because the architect's clarifying that those dimensions and things. So a lot of it is, oh, gee, should be showing you the dimensional extent of this finish, but I'm not going to be dimensioning wall to wall to wall or anything like that. So for me, yes, it's a link that file in. For me, whenever I link in files, I always half tone it too. And most of my clients don't do this, but some of them do. They'll half tone that architectural file, because when that architectural file is half tone, then they can kind of see, hey, this is what you're focusing on these interior sheets. Therefore, that's all going to be bold, and we're going to half tone or even thin line all of the linked architectural stuff as it comes in. So yes, that's how I do. I do not do the copy monitor. It does stink because you are going to be tracking your things around. But always remember, if it's a BIM 360 project, you can have them publish and you can see what they've moved to get that to happen. So it is going to stink if you're trying to put a finished tile wall in front of a door and the architect moves the door by 6 inches. Your tile is going to be in and out of the door. Yeah, that part does suck. Wish I had a better solution. But yeah, when it's a separate consultant, go ahead, they link it in and it's there. I have also worked in other projects where the architect gives the interiors because they work well together. They give the interior people rights to their model, and they all do it in the same model. So obviously it's going to be a trust scenario on what you're going through and looking at. I don't know, how do you guys suggest it, Melissa?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those it depends situations. A lot of our clients, they do have in-house interiors, so they will have maybe a work set, maybe, or they're literally just working in the architectural model.
Yeah, the one thing also one of my clients did, if you are a consultant with an interiors group, and there's some limitations to it, but rather than doing rooms, they do spaces because they want all of their room names to match the architecture. So they've created all of their finish tags and everything through spaces, and therefore they can just use the space naming utility and update the names as it comes through. You could obviously do this if you had Dynamo or something like that, but a lot of interiors crews don't have a large enough firm to, have people familiar with Dynamo or be able to take the time to do that. So for them, they've used spaces for everything as opposed to rooms, and they can just say, hey, match the, space naming utility. I think that's under the annotate tab. I forget where it is. It's somewhere in here. Space tag. No. That doesn't know. It's under the analyze tab, I believe. Yeah, the space naming utility here, and it'll automatically match space names to room names. So every time they get a new architectural file, they just run that tool. If they changed it, they changed it. They don't really care. It's going to update their space names. So that's the only thing I would say that would be a little bit different. Some of my firms like no, because one of the limitations you have is when you're trying to schedule things like doors from room to room, you don't get that value. It doesn't give you from space to space. But in most of your schedules, you still in a schedule, I'm not in an interior and architectural one, but in most of the schedules you go into, you would still get, hey, I can schedule things from the room or from the space. So they could still say what furniture they have in what space, etc. Yep. And Michael's saying they do the same thing, even though they're all in the same firm.
Chris is just updating. The question is more, do you make the effort to be able to tag painted materials, or you just use dummy tags / note blocks and not worry about the data?
So most of my clients will actually go in and model a 16th inch thick wall in front of it, and they will tag that 16th inch thick wall as material. So if they're trying to like tag the paint or whatever they have inside of there, if they're truly doing it, they just go in and model those, mostly because if they're interiors only, they're big into their renderings. And so they want to come in and get all of their renderings going through, etc. So most of them be like, yes, I'm going to come in and just model these 16th inch thick walls. Obviously they have, names accordingly to either be filtered, or a lot of architects require them to put things on a work set. So they can go through and the architects can just manage work sets to turn it off, but they'll go through and everything they do has like FIN in front of it. So they know, or FF&E or something like that. So they can go through and filter out walls and generic models that have FF&E at the beginning of the name.
Yes. Yeah, we have most of our view templates are already set up using both an interior and an exterior finishes filter system. So you usually don't see interior finishes like any of those walls or tile until you're in a larger scale.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So Chris, hopefully that answers the question. One of my clients, they do it also completely with dummy tags. Like we started making things correct. We started going through and doing it, and they were just like, yep, nope, we don't want to do that. We're just going to do dummy tags everywhere.
There's kind of like that old-fashioned room tag where it's like, here's your wall base and
yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
so what else do we got there?
To make the effort, but not everybody likes to make the effort.
Majority of our interiors are still in CAD using Vectorworks. Yeah, fortunately for me, most of my interior clients come to me because the architect's like, no, you're doing this in Revit.
I was actually surprised at my old firm because we had a lot of, the old guard. I've been doing Revit interior design for ever and ever, and they took to Revit a lot faster than I thought they would.
It's funny for me in the world of Revit, structural engineers took to it pretty quick for me because they're already doing everything in the 3D modeling program for their structural analysis stuff. It's like, oh, you mean instead of drawing stick lines for analysis tools, they're saying we're drawing cool. And then, like you said, interiors, because a lot of interiors were doing a lot of SketchUp or some sort of other 3D modeling for their renderings, etc. So like, oh, cool, it's just a new 3D tool. The architects for me have been the hardest, and MEP. Most mechanical people. We'll skip mechanical. I don't electrical. I think has been that bad. Most mechanical. I just used to draw lines on plan. You mean now I got to draw ducks and make them live? What? But architects and for me have been the worst because they were like, oh well, we always just drew lines as a plan, and yeah. So.
Yeah, it was the mechanical, especially. We'd get everything on the floor. It was like, sorry, you gotta do heights now, dudes. No offense to any MEP people on here, because you guys are probably not those people.
Exactly.
You're not the ones that are like, yep, it's all on the floor. I don't care.
Well, usually it was for me. It was usually the owners of the companies who were like, no.
yeah, that's not my problem. Let's see, where do we want? I guess we can kind of go. Jared's question kind of follows. What's the most effective way you found to place notes on your sheets? I've seen a few methods, advantages and disadvantages with them. Wondering what seems to be most effective. Note, I need to have the ability to make changes to some parts of the notes. They aren't always the same note for every sheet. Hope that makes sense.
Me personally, I do everything in a legend, even if that legend is only going to exist one time on a sheet. And the way I look at it is that's no different than doing a view, right? Views are all separate things. And so this way I can train everybody. A sheet is merely a placeholder for a view. I don't believe in putting revision clouds on the sheet. I don't believe in doing just text on the sheet. For me, I train everybody. Sheets are placeholders for views. Everything else you do is a view, because inevitably somebody's going to go add those notes to one sheet. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I actually need that on this sheet too. Then they go add those notes on that sheet. And then they go back and change the first sheet and nobody realizes it's on the other sheet as well. So for me, it's just hands down, everything gets done in a view and then you place views onto a sheet. So even if you had, overall floor plan notes, which are this for level 1, are slightly different than overall floor plan notes for level 2, I personally still do everything like that in a legend. The legends get put onto a sheet. The other reason I do that is for me, and I don't think this project has it, but if most of my legends have like my little note block around it. Let's see if I can open up my template. So in my little note block, I don't know if my template's been upgraded, so I'm actually gonna open up Revit 23 and do this. Oh, that's right. I came out to the lake and my machine decided to put the icons on the second monitor. But so for me, again, even in that case, so I also have like a little border that goes around it, and that border is not part of the title block. It's always part of the legend. And so for me, since I'm doing that, I want that in a legend because somebody's going to go move the note or the border or something like that, and they're not going to get lined up properly. I know. What's your philosophy on that, Melissa?
Yeah, a lot of those notes we do have on legends. And we've got a few clients that have done things where they have, the different studios. So they will have all pulled in and they will, they're their healthcare group or their education group. And they've actually got some extra parameters so they can go in and basically just delete all of the out of the thing and then they only have their educational ones on the sheets. So they basically stack everything to start with and then delete what they don't want.
That makes sense. Yeah, I know. Every time I see somebody do notes on a sheet, inevitably another sheet needs the same notes and somebody copies it and then they forget to update it. And it's just like, yeah, that's my philosophy. Sheets are merely placeholders for views. I mean, if we actually come down here and look at some of the sheets in this simple structural project, it's going to be the same things. There's nothing done in the project that is going to be not, except for the not for construction, I guess that got added. For me, that would have been part of title block, but there's never notes, general notes, any of that stuff in any of the projects I work on. It's always a legend. Everything's on there. Even to the fact I know a lot of people are like, well, I got to put a revision cloud on a schedule on the sheet. I don't do that either. All of my schedules have a column called revisions. And then I manually type whatever the element is that's getting revised. I manually type in what that revision is. So as things get added to the schedule, my revision cloud isn't clouding the wrong damn thing. Don't care if there's not a cloud around it. If it says revisions and it has in a schedule revision 12, RFI 62, whatever, it's going to know that's there and I don't have to have it. And I just make that column have red text. So at least people will get the same red text they see with their revision clouds.
Yeah, that's. Oh yes, and Simon's saying key schedules. We do actually have a combo. A lot of our clients will have like a note by number key schedule on the sheets, and also just kind of your general CYA notes that go on everything as legends. Kind of a combo. I'm gonna guess by colors dawn. That means colors don't print or read well, maybe.
And Chris says he's moved away from legends and use generic annotation families, and that's fine too. You absolutely can do that. I just find that that confuses a lot of very basic users of Revit to say, oh, you've got to edit this family to change the text and reload the family in. And yes, if I'm doing multiple different sheet files for a same project, yes, that's definitely a better way to go because you can maintain the difference between the two and the verbiage. But of course, you also got to get everybody to remember to load it in all the projects, which doesn't also happen. But
Probably the biggest thing is just consistency. Find an office standard at least, or at least try to keep it the same in your project, so people don't have to go check 12 different places. As much as we all love that. Yep, schedules is definitely a copy over.
Yeah, and somebody's saying they use schedules as well, and you can do that. For me, it's just, again, my code stuff, some of it's, the schedule where you're doing everything in the title. It's just a little bit cumbersome for people to get through it and figure it out. So kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, there's multiple ways. Everybody does it different. Every firm swears their way is better. So whichever way works for you guys, go for it. I'm just if you start allowing people to put some things on the sheet, all of a sudden I was literally on a project and somebody was doing like dummy tags on the sheet. It's like, oh, we use dummy tags for interiors, and I'm on the sheet and I forgot to activate the view. So they started putting all these tags, tagging things, and then the view moved or panned. Like, why did none of my tags do? What Revit's stupid? And it's like, select, oh, all of your tags, your dummy tags are done on the sheet. So if you just tell everybody sheets are placeholders for views, I end up seeing less things go bad.
Yeah, because it's not kosher to tell them it's not Revit. That's stupid. That doesn't go well.
See, it's funny, Rick says everybody wants things printed in black and white, so he doesn't worry about colors. 90% of the people who are doing it is prints PDF anyway. I mean, most of my clients don't even deliver paper drawings anymore. Like it's 100%, they do electronic stamps in Revit. They don't even ever print anymore. Like I had firms who had, like 5 printers in their office and they have 0 because they literally do not print anymore. It's all delivered via PDF, so why not do it in color? And if we are doing it in color, we always try to change. Like I don't use the bright red because if you do print black and white, the bright red comes in, or not black and white, grayscale, bright red comes in black. So I always start to choose slightly different variations. So if I do print grayscale, at least you can kind of see there's a variation on this. But yeah, for me, I had a Canadian client about 15 years ago. It was like once we went to the computer, we started doing everything in color. It's like all their different rebar sizes were done in color. It was structural engineer. Number 4s are this color, number 5s are this color, number 6s are this color. Like we did that in AutoCAD. Why aren't we doing it in Revit too?
Yeah. We actually, at my old firm, we did a couple studies in some of the local print shops where we'd send it when we did have big jobs. They were bringing down the cost to where it really didn't cost a lot more to do color, which is super awesome for life safety stuff, especially. Yeah.
Well, and I've got quite a few clients. It's like it's so hard to get very visual for life safety stuff out there. So they were at least we're saying, hey, we're going to print life safety in color. So that, they started off with like 2 sheets. At that point, they're like, why are we only doing these 2 or 4 sheets in color? Let's just say screw it. The entire damn set's in color, and who cares?
And it is really nice. We always had like our grids and our levels. I found a blue that printed just like it was black. So it was just enough different that it was easy to tell that it wasn't a line, it wasn't a door, or it wasn't a wall.
Yeah. And like all I said for me is I have this, and I guess the text could be part of a general sheet note, and it could have just been multi-line text, but I don't like multi-line text because you can't have tab spacing automatic. Pisses me off. But so for me, I just have what I call this my little note border that goes around. So everybody's got it the same size. The text in the top is the same. The lines are the same. It's all up there. And I have this nice little note border thing. And then all of my notes go in here. And again, this is why I do it as a legend. And then you can just drag and drop this onto the sheet once it's done. I also put reference planes. If I hide my little note block, my generic annotations, I put reference planes at the borders because then I can snap those onto the sheet in the same location. But
oh, your notes aren't in all caps.
no, just where it says sheet notes. Everything else is not all caps.
But hand drafting.
Yeah, benefits of schedules is you can copy it from one project to another. That's true. One downside to using a schedule is you're just using the header, is you can't do a header for the same thing. So I can't create one that's just using the titles for, and then like, oh, let me duplicate this because you've already done that. You've already used those parameters. So if you're like, oh, I want one that's very similar to this, So like what I mean by that is, I think, is my code schedule done that way? My abbreviations definitely are. It's like no, my abbreviations are actually abbreviations. I lied. I do so
Right.
much for so many other people. But it's like if you do it where you're just using the title for it, the problem is if you're like, cool, I want one of these that's 90% the same, so I want to duplicate it. You can't duplicate that because it's a schedule key or just something in the title, the title, and you got different fields. I like those ideas better, but with average users, they start like, why can't I duplicate this? Why can't I do that? It's like, yeah, sorry.
Because in that case, Revit is stupid. That one is a Revit stupid, not a user stupid.
Our principals are still wanting to print in the PDF or in black and white. No. Yes, my notes are not in all caps, Rick. I can't stand all caps. And it's just hilarious to me because every university has done a study on fonts. And ironically, the calligraphy font is easier to read than any font because your eyes will start to pick up on shapes rather than letters. And the worst possible thing you can do is have text in all caps. They flat out say that is the worst way to do text. More things will get missed if you have everything in all caps. Rick's like, yes, come tell everybody in my office. Color and not caps. All right, so what's our next question?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you need to send Rick some like all of those university studies. He can just nonchalantly leave them around the office.
Just literally Google font studies. Harvard's done one, Stanford's done one. I mean, I can Google it in front of clients and I can come up with like 10 different variations of, hey, all these people have done it and every single one of them agrees. All caps is the worst possible way to do it.
I was waiting for him to say, yeah, I tried that.
Done that, been there.
And Rick, this is why we drink.
This is why we drink. This is why I'm on a boat with a margarita in my hand. I'm just saying.
Oh.
No, it cracks me up because the reason we went to all caps is when people were hand lettering, it was easier to have multiple people hand letter the same because all caps looked similar, no matter who did it. The day we put the pencil down and picked up a mouse, we should have stopped that and went to sentence case.
There's so many things we should have stopped when we put the pencil down, but that did not happen.
I also didn't laugh because my clients I'll laugh about the like the line weights. I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago. Everybody's like talking and discussing line weights. I'm like, you guys do realize that 90% of your contractors in BlueBeam put the disable line weights button on and they're seeing everything thin. They're like, what? There's a disable line weights in BlueBeam? Yes, there is. And every contractor uses it.
Sad. Yeah. I've definitely seen some beautiful hand-drawn sets, and I can totally get with them, but it's an art, but it's kind of
hand-drawn architectural sets are an art, a piece of art. They are artwork. The day we put that down and picked up a mouse, the art went out of it, and now it's about relaying information. So relay the damn information, and who cares if it's pretty.
Yeah, I like where the chat's going right now, though.
You see architects and engineers always angry because they're always yelling at each other.
Oh, absolutely. And it's over very important things like line weights and line styles.
I think and then they're yelling at you in all upper. Like how many people have people Teams them in all uppercase, and you're like, really, you couldn't have just hit that damn caps locks before you went into Teams.
I tend to do that. I'll like totally forget, and I'll start typing. And I'll be like, shit, I don't like retype all this.
Yeah, I retype it because I just can't send it in all caps.
Oh, here we go. Craig sent us an accessibility thing, so I'll copy that down for everybody else.
Did I not set the chat up for people can send it to everybody? I might have forgot that.
I think that it seems like it defaults to hosts and panels.
It does.
And I'm pretty sure I have sent a bunch of messages to basically me and you before.
Yes, I've done that before. Like, man, nobody responded to that. Oh crap, I only sent it to me.
That was so funny. Why is nobody paying attention? Yeah. All right. So I feel like based on the amount of questions in the chat right now from Rick about his Collaborate Pro, I feel like he might want some Collaborate Pro stuff.
Oh, Collaborate Pro.
Yeah, I have a question for Rick though, because it said I literally just got Collaborate Pro 2 hours ago. So is that like, that's when you actually finally got access to, like you signed up last week and finally were able to access it? Or you literally 2 hours ago hopped in there and bought it. Oh yes, in case I'm totally sorry, not mad, just lazy. The first one. Okay, so there we go. So been using ACC Docs, so familiar with that, but the Collaborate Pro is a whole new animal. Absolutely. Can I use my same Docs template, or should I have a separate template that will set up a lot of this stuff automatically?
So
I'm impressed that you got to a template on there, Rick.
when you say docs, I'm assuming you meant old BIM 360, because technically ACC BIM Collaborate Pro is using docs. So it depends if you're on ACC or BIM 360, but yes, I've always set up templates for this. And one of the things for me, and I don't think I have one for myself, so I'm going to go into project templates because I have it for other clients. One of the big things for me is when you start getting in there and you're looking at it, and what's great about the ACC templates is you can set up permissions based off of roles. So you can pre-build permissions, and you can also pre-build in users. So like for one of my client, they just add every single user in their office. It's an 8-person firm as an admin. So every project is created, every single person in their office is added to it. So they don't have to go through, create the project, then go add people, etc. So for me, when I start coming in here and looking at this, what I mean by that is I have the entire folder structure set up. So if I come over here to files, you're going to see in the files, I have every folder set up, right? It says project name. I thought I said maybe I'm on a different client. One of my clients says enter project name, so they remember to enter it. But then you come down here, I've got all these folders set up with permissions. And personally for me, I always create a Revit folder and then a linked folder because I don't want everybody to intermingle their Revit files with their CAD files or anything else that they might be linking in. When I look at their file, I only want to see their Revit file. But the bigger thing is you start setting this all up is if you go into permissions, you can start to see that I have every single role basically set up as a view and download permission. That allows for live linking if you're going to do live linking. I'm not a big person who likes the whole publish consume BS thing. Don't really like that. Got to go publish, got to go create that package, then somebody's got to go review, and then they got to decide if they want to consume it, which one of those steps will be forgotten along the way. I am a live link kind of person. I will always push this in every single project. So by doing that, by giving every role view and download permission, except for the one who belongs to that folder, then anybody can go into Revit and link it in, but they can't see it when they hit the open dialog box. They can go online and download the file, but they can't, manipulate it in the Revit workflow. So all of these files are set up, and then I leave it exact like this. And the only thing that I do different is in case somebody else doesn't put plumbing engineer with the client or with the user they're adding, I will come up to the parent folder here and I will add the company to it with full permissions. So these ones you see, they don't even have the full permission. They have the edit permission, but then I'll add the actual company to full manage position. And then I usually remove the plumbing engineer. Some of my projects like, cool, we got two plumbing people on here. They're doing this half of the building. They're doing that half. Then I just, create a new folder, re-add all those permissions, but you can set all those permissions up in your template. The other thing in your template too is you can have the details, which it just says, but then it does have the permissions here. This is where you can add all of the team members. Really stupid because it doesn't say members, it says permissions. But in permissions, and you can add 15 users in here, and every time you start a project, those people automatically get added. So for me, when this project is started, the company's BIM manager gets added to the project as an admin, and I get added to the project as an admin automatically. So that's how I set it up. I've not done a whole lot with reviews, and I've not done a whole lot with issues, but you can start going through and doing some of the approval workflows and having some of that stuff set up as well if you're going through and using that. So yeah, absolutely, create a template, do the template, have it set up. Totally should have that going. I wish we could also have the model coordination in here. Unfortunately, it's only for the docs. It doesn't give you, if you're going to be setting up the collaboration with the whole publish consume, you can't preset that up in here. To my knowledge, you can't preset up model coordination. It's literally the folders and the docs that you can go through and do. So again, I could be doing something wrong there. And then the other thing for me is once every project gets started, I go ahead and enable model coordination, because the way I've got most of my clients' projects set up inside of Revit is there's a view set up. So I don't even worry about anybody publishing. It's all done from the architect's file. So in the architect's model, there's one called structural columns, structural foundation, structural brace frames, structural beams, whatever it is. And I have all these views specifically set up inside of their Revit template. So when they publish, those views get published. Model coordination automatically gets updated for every discipline just by the architect publishing their model. And then once that happens, we're good to go, and I can go into the model coordination. And I was trying to find something that I was thinking would have it, that I can actually show. Most of these are like, hey, you can't show these out in the real world, security issues.
While you're looking for that, Rick had a follow-up about live linking. They didn't like that every time the arc synced, they got the update right away, but they don't. It's kind of like regular linking. If you went and reloaded the architectures file, then you would see the changes, but it's not like you're going to literally see walls floating around and things jumping every time they save. It's only if anytime you open or you relink or reload the file. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
live, but not like immediate.
Yeah, I laughed because I was on a project the other day, and the lead was saying, oh, we're going to do a whole publish consume, and we're going to publish every 3 weeks. I'm like, so by the time I get a response to what I'm looking at, it's 3 weeks old. So if I notice something the Monday after we publish and I tell my client to fix it, I'm not going to see that fix for 3 weeks. Then I'm going to address that fix that they may have done correctly or wrong. If they did it wrong, then I got to tell them again. So literally nothing's going to happen for 6 weeks.
Yeah, and everything's going
to. And that's yeah, and that's assuming, and like, so, and like, well, we just found that this is better because when we go to print, we don't print things that are incorrect. I'm like, but you're printing things that are 3 weeks old. So sure, it's not weird, but it's 3 weeks old, which is still incorrect. So I personally, for me, I don't get it. If that's the point in time too, I'm always like, why are you even on Construction Cloud? Just post files to an FTP and download them. I mean, because that's literally what you are doing. You've got to come into your project. Just go grab any project here because I'm not going to really do anything, but you've got it. And it's not even a Revit thing. In Revit, you got to go into Revit and say publish, right? So in Revit, I've got to come up here. I've got to go browse to my file, 923 or 4. So I've got to come over here. And again, I still tell everybody to publish daily, but if you're on a crappy Starlink internet, then you've got to come over here, find your project. Sure, this looks good. You go into your project files, you find the folder you're looking for. Right, you come over here, you say, cool, I'm going to go into here, and then I'm going to grab this file and I'm going to hit the publish button. Once I hit that publish button, that's cool. I have to then go online and create a package from that publish. The problem is you can't do that until it's done publishing.
Yeah, the only good part about that whole thing is all the jokes about consuming packages and sharing your package with everybody.
Yes, yes, I always like it when Melissa consumes my package. Yeah, you can have fun with it that way. But so I don't know, to me, so then if that does happen, then you've got to literally come up here, and none of my projects are set up this way, so I unfortunately can't show you. But then you come up here, you go into the design collaboration. This is a BIM 360 project, but then you got to come over here, and then I don't think this one's set up that way. Then you got to go create a package over that. Then you have to share that package. So it's really bizarre. So you then got to come into, yeah, and it freaked out on me. I don't think this one's got it set up, but you've got to go in, create the package. So you publish, create a package, and you've got to share the package. And you've got to let everybody know you share the package. It can be automatically emailed. And then they've got to go online, review it, and say, okay, consume it. And then if that happens, you're then coming over here under the project folder. Under each folder here, there would be a shared folder, and you're actually just linking from your own folder.
I think there's the consume folder too.
Yes, sorry. Is it? Yeah, that's right. There's an overall shared.
Shared is what you were sending out, and consumed is what you were.
Yes. Yeah, there's an overall shared folder under project name, and then there's a consumed folder as well. Now you can you can link under the shared folder, which eliminates the consuming part. So they still have to go create a package. They still have to go share the package, but then you automatically see that. And again, at that point in time, I really don't get it, because it's like, well, if you're not allowing them to say yes to it, why don't you just do live linking from the folder?
Yeah,
I work with clients that do ginormous buildings, giant courthouses, giant airports, convention centers, all sorts of large projects, and they're like, I would not do this any other way. Because if you do the whole consume, download, all of that, it's taken somebody an hour every time you want to do this. They got to publish, they've got to create the package, they've got to publish package, and later they've got to go consume every single model. So if there's You know, if there's a fire protection, a fire, security, a mechanical, or electrical lighting, electrical, whatever, you've got to go have somebody sit there and go consume. Okay, let me browse to the next folder, view it. You're adding an hour every time you need to do that.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
still have
Tom's like,
people
yeah.
that can't quite get and it's stupid and confusing. They'll be like, oh, I just published my new model, and you hop on there and look. No, they synced it to Central,
Yes.
which is fine for what you're going to get, but they didn't actually publish it.
Well, that's the thing I always tell everybody. is when you are in Revit, you see the first 3 columns. These are Revit columns. Hey, it's a work shared cloud model. This model was synchronized last on June 30th. And this is the person who did it. Everything after that is the publish information. So, hey, there's an update publish here because the last time somebody published this was May. So last time this file was published was a month before the last person who saved it.
Yeah. Which
Right.
means
So again,
that's looking online is going to be seeing something that's a month old.
Yep. So somebody's gonna be seeing this from the 23rd, from the July 31st, and the last they're gonna be seeing it from July 25th when the last save was July 31st, or in this case, it's a month later. So yeah, it's a simple matter of hitting publish and saying, cool, go for it. Now, if you are doing the publish consume theory, you can set the design collaboration up to automatically publish every file in the given folder. That is a Revit work shared folder file. So that publish part can be automatic, but somebody's still got to go create the package. Somebody's still got to go share that package in order for everybody else to go consume it. If you are doing the live linking in Revit, publish does not happen automatically. There is no way as of yet to make publish happen if you are not using design collaboration.
Wait. What did we rename? Forma. Is that what we renamed to?
You can do it through Forge platform, yes.
Forge, but no, isn't that Forma now? Somebody help me.
No, it's still
like,
Forge. Forma is the space
sure?
maker /
Okay.
Formit merge. Forge is still the base platform.
All right, so I just screwed up with all the F's.
I think F this, man. It's one of those F's.
Why doesn't Scott Davis ever sign in so we can look?
I think he got tired of us giving him too much crap.
too much crap thrown his way.
Yeah.
Yes. So Rick's saying the MEP folks he talked to said that it did. So the whole live linky thing. I wonder what they were. Yeah, the only thing I can think is one person on there somehow thought they needed to go reload links, and then they would save to Central, and then everybody else. But yeah, there's still a save to Central,
and their definition of it could be updating all the time, meant every day, or it could be somebody who like literally closes Revit every time they walk away from their computer.
That's true. Yeah, see other Brian's with us on live linking.
Well, and I've heard MEP and people say stuff like that too, and it always makes me laugh because they're like, oh, but I don't want to see the updates. Like, cool. So you'd rather spend 2 weeks of your time churning away doing something that's wrong rather than knowing right away, oh, this whole entire area changed.
Yeah. And as much as we were hoping that this was, going to take away all the need to actually talk to your team, no. Go ahead and just email and say, hey, we as the architect, and it's going to be the owner. The owner made the things. The architects don't actually just change everything every day for fun. Usually it's from the owner.
Yeah.
You can email everybody. It does happen, but a lot of the time it's because the owner or the budget or the whatever.
Well, and the biggest thing for me,
email everyone and just tell everyone, hey, we are completely redesigning the cafeteria thing. Don't spend all day in that because it will be different. You can just let people know that that's a thing.
Well, and for everybody to know, and this is the best thing, and this was not originally part of the BIM 360, or I guess the A360 platform. They came out with this way later. But the one thing that I freaking love about this is if you go to look at a file in even BIM 360 or ACC, they're in slightly different locations. You have this button up here called compare.
Oh, love that one.
So I'm on version 78. I want to come down here to version 77. I want to choose one of the views that I'm looking at that has been published. Hey, let's go grab the architectural folder. Come down here and grab the architectural folder. And let's compare the two. So if you are the MEP people, now granted, they're synchronizing every day. I tell all my clients, you should publish every single day. If I could set up auto publish to publish every single day, I would absolutely do it, because it just gives you further backgrounds. It lets you know what happened, what didn't happen throughout the day. But if you do this model compare, once it gets done processing, it's going to show you everything that changed in the model from version 77 to version 78. Literally, it's going to tell you what's been added, what's been deleted, and what's been modified. So for me, this is one of those things where I start talking to people going, yeah, you want to know as the structural engineer or the MEP engineer, or any of those people, what did the architect change? And what I loved about this when it first came out with this, when it was way in the beta, is like I changed the slope of a floor, told the, hey, I changed the slope of the floor. Well, then this highlighted, oh, changing the slope of the floor, all the walls underneath it that were attached to it also changed. Oh, and guess what? Then the walls above it changed. Oh, and the handrail moved down. So all of a sudden, the one change I told them I sent, Revit, or excuse me, BIM 360 was telling me, oh no, in reality, changing the slope of that one floor adjusted these 15 objects, right? So you can see inside here, I want to go see what was removed. So these are all of those elements that were removed from version 77 to version 78. If I pick on that object, it's going to tell me what it was. It was this basic wall, element was removed. Cool, gives you all of that stuff. If I scroll back up here to the top, I'm like, cool, I don't want to see the remove, but I want to see the stuff that's been modified. If I click on one of those things, it will tell me why I opted. The shape of this model has changed, and I can go from one version to the other. I don't really see it, so it's probably nothing that I really need to be concerned of. Probably one of the doors moved a couple inches, right? But as you start coming through this list and start trying to see, hey, what's went through with the whole modify, what went through with all these things being modified, it will start to tell you, hey, if it's moved, which probably none of these things have changed that much, if it's moved, it'll say, oh, it moved by 2 feet. It got 2 feet taller, 2 feet short. So you can really start coming through and saying, hey, what happened here? You'll also see that there's filters. So if you're kind of like, this is cool, but I'm MEP, I want to see if the architect screwed any ceilings up. So no ceilings changed in this file. Great. I was going to use this as a great example to see what moved. But you can start going through the filter and look, it does show you, these are all the Revit objects in here. Oh, I really only want to go see why why did the architect move their plumbing fixtures? Oh, it's a whole bunch of roof drains. So all these little roof drains, what happened to them? Here's in one model. Oh yeah, that's a significant move. If you're the MEP guy trying to work on roof drains, you can say, hey, look, they basically mirrored the damn thing. Was that on purpose, or did they just screw it up? Right now we can start coming through and you can see, okay, this one, I don't really know what changed. It moved by 0.01 inches in the Y.
Somebody nudged.
Yep. So you can start going through and seeing all these different things that started to move and why they moved on you. And again, you can come through here, cool, I'm done with that. Get rid of that filter, start coming through the other filters. They've got them all set up. You can start looking at them. Hey, on structural, what walls, what windows moved? Oh, they moved all the louvers. This could be a big deal. Maybe I need to go look into these areas. So for me, I love this. And this is regardless of if you're using design collaboration or whatever. If your file is on BIM 360, even CAD files, and you're just dragging and dropping them, you can see the difference.
That is one of my favorite things. I think Jason's onto something. We're all introverts and we don't like people, so we don't want to tell anybody. People are scary.
So Rick, to answer your question, every time in Revit I synchronize, and again, looking back in the Revit interface here, this model is being updated. If somebody is linking from my folder, if I hit synchronize, they're instantly going to see that update if they open up the Revit project or they go into manage links, reload the link. So every day, unless you're one of those crazy people, leaves your computer open for 3 weeks, every day you come in, you are going to see the latest update from yesterday. If you close your machine at lunch and open it up after lunch, you're going to see the latest changes from what the architect did in the morning. But only if you open up the file. The publishing is for people to do exactly what I did online here. Online is what publishing does. The published version is what you can see online. So if you share this folder with anybody and they're going to come in like, oh, cool, I want to download that architect's model so I can open it. They're only going to be getting this one from July 24th. Guess what? Today's the 1st. So this one could be 6 days old. So the publish is what you see in the web browser. Syncing in Revit with live linking, you will see that anytime the link is reloaded.
Yes. Totally clear, right?
The other thing is too, is what's really great is you can see right here, here's version 78. If I want to go see any of those versions, this is why I tell my clients publish every damn day, because this becomes an additional layer of backups.
It does.
Hey, look, I published this on this day. What's going on? So I hit the publish button on this day and this day and this day. So these get published. And this is literally those days of when did this get published? Why are you publishing this? Don't know. But these become a backup. So if something happens, you can be like, cool, let me go download the source file. If you're like, man, I swear to God, I did these floors. What day was it? On the 22nd? If you publish every day, you can come down here and download these source files to really start seeing what's going on and open it up in a different session of Revit. But I do get on here and I have clients who this says version 2, and it was a year and a half ago, which means they created the central, the cloud model and never hit publish in the life of that project. And it's a blank file.
So sad.
Yes, and I agree with Jason's point entirely. From the MEP perspective, coordinate communication does not happen as much as it should.
No, it doesn't. It is like a lot of people decided, oh, well, they can see my model. Well, I shouldn't have to tell them what I did. They can just go see it. It's like, yeah, it's a 500,000 square foot building. They're not going to just know magically. What is your option if BIM 360 goes down? Simon, this is why we drink. Next.
You know, I hear everybody complain about this and it makes me laugh. What do you do in the office when the network goes down? What do you do when the power goes out? Everybody like complains like, oh my God, BIM 360 went down. And honest truth, most of the outages BIM 360 have are usually Amazon Web Service related, big
So
ones.
everything's
So everything's down. You go, oh, I want to go play my stupid game on my phone. Why I can't get to BIM 360? Oh wait, that's not logging in either. So for me, I don't know. It's just it's life. Things happen. When the power went out and there was no electricity, and they penciled. Or you know what they did? They went and took lunch. They didn't pull out flashlights and try to work with their pencils and whatever. They're like, cool, power's out. Let's go take lunch. It's not a big deal. The one thing I will say that's better about BIM 360 is if BIM 360 goes down in your file, you can still in Revit hit save. And when it comes back up, you can then push your coordinates up there. So if you hit the save icon, even though BIM 360 is down, you will not lose anything you've done. If your server goes down, you're usually just fucked.
No, Simon, you don't want to just hand draft. This is when you clean your desk. You maybe go through your emails if that server's not down too.
And so we had another question come up. Why can't you publish your coordinates to linked files that are on BIM 360? The reason for this, and this fits right into the whole BIM 360 thing we're doing, is if you are doing live linking and I publish, that allows the structural engineer to publish to the architect or the electrical to publish to the structural. If you've got that live linking set up, there's no way for them to control who's publishing to what model. So they just disabled it. So yes, it does add a couple extra steps in when you're trying to do site location, etc. But that's the reason why it's gone. If they didn't want anybody being able to publish to anybody else. And you do have to remember that when the whole collaboration on the cloud came out, it was called Skyscraper. Back then, you only had one folder and everybody was in the same folder and everybody had full rights. So it was kind of like, oh, well, at least let's keep somebody from doing the whole publish thing. So they disabled the publish when you're in a BIM 360 and not publish. Sorry. If I go to collaborate and I go to, nope, not collaborate, manage coordinates, it's the published coordinates that go away. They got rid of the published coordinates when you are on a BIM 360 file for that reason. They don't want somebody being able to. Now on your own server, they figured you've downloaded a copy of whoever's file. So if you publish to the downloaded copy, you're not breaking it. You're going to download a new version. So that's why they had the publish. But that's why it's there. It does stink. It does add a few more steps to the process, but still not that big of a deal. And it's fairly easy to work around. I just love the fact that we have reset shared coordinates. I'm working on a project still in Revit 20, and I've had to reset the coordinates like 50 times in the last month, and it's been pissing me off.
In Look, we found another stupid Revit incident instead of stupid user.
Well, that's just where I wish they would upgrade the dang project. Okay, so what else we got there, Melissa?
Let's see. We have Yasser. I tried to modify the line pattern and weight of a detail item family in the family editor, but after loading it into the project, the changes did not take effect. What do you recommend?
So yeah, sir, this is true of anything from the family. If you change a material, you change the object style, any of that stuff, when you load it into the project, if it already resides within that project, it will not update. So what I mean by that is if I'm in I never actually opened a project there. Oh, back to this one. So if I'm in a project, you changed it in the family, you have to come up to object styles within the project environment. And within that project environment, like, oh, cool, I went into doors and I changed the, whatever to be pin 7. You have to come back here and change it here as well. Because object styles, materials, line patterns, line weights, those do not get updated within the project environment if it already exists. Now, if I loaded a door in here and there was a new object style in that door called Fred, then it would load Fred in based off of what that family had. But if I go reload that family because I thought it was too fat and bring it back in, Fred will not update.
Yeah, can you imagine how unhappy we'd all be if somebody downloaded something from like Revit City and it changed all your shit?
Yeah. Let me load the door in from Revit City. Now I have fuchsia colors and green colors and blue colors and what?
All my line weights are really, really fit. Yeah. Yes, it seems annoying when you're legitimately trying to change the thing and it's not changing, but it's good when you don't want it to be accidentally changing because somebody brought crap in. Yes, Cliff's notes from Rick. Project object styles outweigh family object styles.
Yep. I do like Michael's comment that he's been tracking the I just moved, people are typing, but he's been tracking the downtime on BIM 360 and it's less than 0.5%. Most of my clients' servers aren't that damn stable. So.
And yes, Simon, Revit City does still exist. So I do fear that there are people that are like, sweet stuff.
There was a family in Revit City that had 3 different clients download and corrupt their project. And I laughed because after the second client, I'm like, okay, third client had a project corrupt. I looked in theirs and that family was there. And it was a mop and bucket family that people were putting in their janitor's closet. And I'm like, first off, why are you modeling the bucket? Yes, Jason knows what I'm talking about.
I've never even thought about
modeling a mop and a bucket in your janitor's closet, right?
Be right back.
Had 3 separate clients do that, and it literally corrupted their projects. And it was like, it doesn't corrupt it right when you put it in. It like waits like a week. It was like a time bomb. And it's like, oh my God.
Now I'm wondering, there's a few of my clients' projects I might have to pop back into and see if there's the bucket of doom.
The bucket of doom. And it was just like literally the third client came and they're like, I got this corrupted project. I went in there, I deleted it. I was like, it's fixed. Like, how did you do it so fast? I'm like, well, because I've had 2 other clients do this. First client, it took me like an hour and a half, 2 hours to figure out what it was.
Oh yeah. When it's the mystery bucket.
The mystery bucket, the mop and
bucket. I didn't know there was a bucket of doom. I think the last family I downloaded was duck with machine guns.
A duck with machine guns.
I feel like that's just awesome. Oh yeah, like who doesn't need a duck with machine guns?
Alrighty, and
all the things.
Exactly.
So yes, so I guess we did answer Yasser's question, right? Make the changes in your project when it's important. And Mike's asking the most important question, saying, given your location, why isn't he wearing his Built 23 collectible boat hat?
Well, I do have the change order t-shirt, which is the t-shirt that's the name of the boat I'm on. So I do have the appropriate shirt on for the boat that I'm sitting on. But I just wear I'm going to be outside. This hat was not sun faded before this trip started. That's how direct sun has been killing us out here. So my hat did get sun faded. So I wouldn't wear anything that I totally am like, ooh, I want to keep this as something. So if it was a collector's item and it was a collectible hat, then I wouldn't want to be wearing that out here because it'd get ruined. Not to mention that I only have a hat on because my hair looks like crap. But that's the only reason.
I've learned that the fuzzy background you can't see that my hair is actually somewhere out here. So we got that going. Oh yes, everybody enjoy Simon's Revit City link.
Yes, to the troll space seal of approval. I've not seen that Revit family before.
I feel like I might put that in some people's title blocks.
Put that, replace their stamp.
Or do you just have to search Bucket of Doom? Because I feel like
Bucket of Doom.
some people might need their.
No, I want to put that little face one in there where everybody's like architectural stamp is, or their engineer stamp, and see if they
That's what
notice
I'm
it. Make it. Yeah, there you go.
See how many people actually pay attention to it.
Well, and on that note, we are 5 minutes past the top of the hour, so we went over. I thank everyone for sticking around and still being here, you know, as we go through this crazy talking that we are doing. But with that said, we appreciate everybody showing up. I should get this recorded, and it won't be up for a while, but I'll get this on the YouTube channel for those of you to pass along, or, you know, review back to see if you want to find that Bucket of Doom family that was posted on Revit City. Thanks everyone for sharing, and thank you, Melissa, for joining and co-hosting with me again. Thanks everyone.